Once again, we're going to be having a bit of a crazy week, but you know something? That's totally fine. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Game Changer. I am indeed Nate the Effing Great, and I'm being joined here by a woman who is another day older and another year wiser. Recently celebrated her birthday. Ladies and gentlemen, one and only VicTori Belle. First of all, happy birthday to you, and welcome back.
Thank you very much. And yeah, sorry about last week. It was insane. But now it's a little more calm. Kind of, but at least we'll get to talk twice this week, so we can talk about the craziness twice.
This is very true. This is very true. But you mentioned, it was a bit crazy. You definitely been posting a lot on your Facebook fan page as well as your personal page about some of the things that were going on this past weekend. Not only it being your birthday, but also you had Ace Comic-Con that you went to. Talk to us a little bit about that. How was the experience? How was everything? Because I know some people have been having mixed reviews on it. Some people thought it was good. Some people thought it was meh. But what were your general overall thoughts about Ace Comic-Con?
Well, first off, as a Chicagoan, I never enjoy going to Navy Pier. It is as far east as us Chicagoans go, and it is one of the hardest places to park and get in and out of. So I think location-wise, they didn't. I think they were trying to be new and ooh, where do they not host cons ever? Navy Pier, let's do that. And I think that kind of might have hurt them. I enjoyed the view while I was there. I was like, ooh, wow, it's pretty outside. But then you're like, but I'm inside. I think that it was an okay convention. I do feel like it was well attended. I went to support the International School of Comics. I didn't do my own booth, and I'm not going to probably be doing any booths anymore by myself. I will be supporting organizations that I'm working for. But it was good to be there, and Ace was so kind to give us a booth right next to the panels. So I heard all of the big celebrities talking about all their next adventures and what's coming up in Avengers Infinity War, which was really cool. So we had Chris Evans, Tom Hiddleston, Elizabeth Olsen, Karen Gillan, and Lee Pace that were all kind of more part of the Marvel Infinity Wars era, and a lot couldn't be told. Obviously, we all know there's some news about Chris Evans saying he's hanging it up. That's kind of something that we all knew, and it's something that is okay, actually, for Avengers, because Captain America himself as a character changes often in the comic books. Tom Hiddleston was great. He was hilarious. Both of them were hilarious, by the way. I do have to do a quote from Chris Evans. They asked if he ever got the Infinity Gauntlet in real life, what would he do with it? And then he's like, well, I don't want to get too political here, but and I don't know exactly what that could mean, but I think he was speaking politically, which was pretty funny to me. I enjoyed that. Elizabeth Olsen, also known as Scarlet Witch, she was saying how don't expect Infinity War Part 2 to make you feel better. She said, it only gets worse from here, so if anyone doesn't like that, then sorry. Tom Hiddleston, a.k.a. Loki, didn't talk much about the movie, obviously. We know Loki kind of passed on pretty early, but he was amazing just as a person. Everybody said that when they met him, he was just great. He was hilarious talking. He actually came out for the other panels that he wasn't involved in to just watch and support his co-stars. I thought that was awesome. As somebody who wants to do this, I'm he seems like a really supportive, nice guy. Karen Gillan was great. She plays Nebula, and she played another thing in Jumanji. She was one of the girls in Jumanji.
Yep.
She did a really good job talking. She was funny. She was with Chris Evans and Lee Pace. Lee Pace plays Ronan, the Destroyer, so he didn't really have much either to talk about. for the Infinity Wars movie. But just throwing it out there, I know I'm almost done. I'm almost done with Ace Comic-Con. Zazie Beetz, also known as Domino in Deadpool, did give a little hint that she is signed to movie contracts, plural. So we're probably going to be seeing a little bit more of Domino in Deadpool and probably at least one or two more movies. And I do know that they're trying to kind of get involved more with the Marvel Universe. And then the other stars that were there, like Tom Ellis is Lucifer. I don't know if that has a great following. I personally enjoy the show. He was a really cool guy, hilarious, kind. And then Matt Smith from Doctor Who, the 11th Doctor, was there and had a good following too. But based on what we talk about most, Chris Evans, Tom Hiddleston, and Elizabeth Olsen were really the three that kind of gave us a little bit of insight without breaking contract. But I do have to say, out of the three, Chris Evans didn't talk much about the Marvel Universe. So I think he's a little bit done, even for, like, being captain in general. Like, he's ready to go.
Yeah, I think that a lot of us saw that coming, and it's one of those things that it is going to be sad, because I think I'm starting to really start to grow a bit on Captain America, which is really sad, considering that, you know, I think he's had some of the most pivotal movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I actually want to read a tweet that he had. I think this was posted about a couple weeks ago, so this is from his official Twitter, where he basically says, and I quote, "Officially wrapped up on Avengers 4. It was an emotional day, to say the least. Playing this role over the last 8 years has been an honor. To everyone in front of the camera, behind the camera, and in the audience, thank you for the memories. Eternally grateful." So, to your credit, you know, talking about, you know, the humor that he has and the kindness that he has, he definitely does seem like a genuine person that really probably would love to continue on as Captain America. But I think he does realize that we've been mentioning a lot is that I'm not going to hold on to this brass ring for long. I want to be able to, you know, leave a good memory and have someone else, you know, take over for me with good memories. So, honestly, it is going to be sad to see him go. He was one of the first few guys I said, like, yeah, he's not going to be, you know, making it throughout the entire Infinity War. And it's still one of those things right now where I still feel that way, but at the same time, it's like, I kind of don't want him to go. I'm liking what he's doing. I like everything that he does.
I know. And he's so humble about everything, too. I really, really like Chris Evans as, like, a person, just because, like, it was funny, like, the audience kept trying to ask him, like, who would win in a fight, Captain America or anyone. Like, he asked, oh, how about Ronan or Nebula, who would win? And, like, Chris Evans was like, guys, you know, Cap has a lot of heart, but let's be real. Like, no, he wouldn't win in any of these fights. And then, like, Loki, somebody told us, and I said low-key, not Loki, the character.
Right.
One of the guests literally was like, yeah, he's kind of a pussy. And I was like, oh my gosh, you can't, and, like, people were laughing, but then the guest was like, oh, not you, though, not you as a person, and, like, everybody on stage was like, did he just call Chris Evans a pussy to his face? Run, son!
I would have loved if he would have just said, like, well, I mean, you know, it might be a pussy, but I just need to break out the shield and I'm good to go, so.
Right, it was weird. I was like, why would you ever say that to somebody? Like, their character of Captain America, too. Like, he's such a pivotal, awesome character. Screw you. So what if he doesn't have big superpowers?
Right.
But yeah, I missed all the WWE stuff, because I didn't go on Friday, but I guess it was when all of the Bella sisters and, I don't remember, Seth Rollins, Alexa Bliss, they were all there.
You know, I'll at least
Lillian.
I'll at least give you credit for at least knowing some of the names. You were so close with some of them, and I was just like, you know what? It's okay. She's only got one event under her belt right now.
And I do remember, I know all of them. I remember seeing, like, okay, I don't know if the Bella twins were at the event we went to, but
no, they were not.
I do remember Seth Rollins and Alexa Bliss a lot. and they were there. Apparently, they had a panel all together, and I heard it was great. And I think that's, I guess, my overall review of Ace would just be the fact that people come to see people and to really just meet celebrities and get autographs. There were good vendors there. There were good artists there, but I didn't hear much great feedback of spending money there because it was an expensive Comic-Con. I don't know about you. I know you actually go to these conventions still. See, I don't go unless I'm invited. So I don't pay anymore to go. And I've been looking up these prices, and I think this is a conversation we're going to have another day. But, I mean, where do we draw the line on paying for these conventions? This convention for 3 days was $125.
Wow. Jeez.
And that's not with autographs. That's like you getting in the door. I don't know. I was a little like, wow. And people were there, man. People were there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that'll definitely be something we'll touch base on Thursday. I think that should be our main subject that we'll talk about for that one. But, yeah, it sounds like Ace Comic-Con was pretty good as far as, like you said, the appearance-wise, the star power, that's what made it really work. One name that wasn't mentioned on there that I don't know if maybe he canceled, maybe he wasn't there, but I thought that Josh Brolin, a.k.a. Thanos, a.k.a. Cable 2 was...
He canceled.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which that sucks, because, he was a huge, there were a lot of Thanos there, a lot of different Thanos stuff there that people were really kind of, I think banking on him to be there. And obviously he probably would have been the biggest star to ever come to a Comic-Con in Chicago. I'm throwing that out there, but, star-wise, actor-wise.
Right.
Because he's in everything. He's amazing. So pretty sad he didn't show. I would have loved to hear him talk more about Deadpool and Thanos. That would have been so cool. Because those were, let's be real, those were the two biggest movies. Infinity War and Deadpool 2 were the two biggest Marvel films of the year. I'm not even going to throw out biggest DC or biggest Comic-Con movies, of this year. So him being in both is kind of that's awesome.
Yeah.
Too bad he did not show, but I mean, he's a big star. He probably had other things to do.
This is very
but we appreciate. I think the fans really appreciated the fact that Chris Evans and Tom Hiddleston, I think, were the two biggest names that people were for sure going to see. And I mean, we're going to talk about this obviously Thursday or something, but getting an autograph by them, I think, was $200 or something. I don't know. To get in, you pay this, and then you do $200. I don't know. That's crazy to me.
Yeah, I think we'll have to tie in conventions also with StarCast that I went to in Chicago a couple months ago. So definitely have to talk about that because then we can maybe compare and contrast, something like wrestling related as well as convention related. But again, we'll talk more about that on Thursday. So next up, we've definitely been hyping up this movie for a while now. 2 movies, actually, and we'll start talking with this one because we both got the chance to see it. I know that you got the chance to see it yesterday. Bradley Cooper directed it, also stars in it, as well as Lady Gaga, talking about A Star Is Born. Now, obviously, going into this, I thought, okay, this could be one of those movies that is going to be very highly received, probably Oscar nominated, and after I left it, I was like, yeah, I'll be surprised if it does not get at least quite a handful of Oscar nominations, because I thought the acting was really good, directing was good, Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper were really good together. Their chemistry was just very well done, and I hate the fact that I've based Lady Gaga only on the fact that, she was the girl that basically hatched out of an egg during a music award deal. It's like, great, this is our life. This is basically what the 2000s are going to be remembered by. It's like, hey, back in the day, we had great musicians like, Michael Jackson as well as Elvis Presley and blah, blah, blah. And what do we got here in the teens? We got a woman who basically hatched out of an egg. Okay. But, after watching the movie, I really do appreciate Lady Gaga as an actress more. She did a fantastic job. She wasn't over the top. She wasn't overacting. She definitely knew how to, keep it at a point where it was truly realistic. And I really liked her character. I like the emotional roller coaster ride that they went on. Basically, Lady Gaga's character, she's very soft, she's very shy at first, then she starts getting the confidence, and then somehow the fame slowly starts to overtake her. Bradley Cooper's character is just going through this deal where, it seems like he's getting better, but he's really getting worse. And then it's like, oh, he's getting better. Nope, he's going down here. It's like, well, we're finally getting that point. And then, of course, the ending happened, and it's like, oh, God, no. Damn it, Hall.
I called that, by the way. Right after that guy talked to him, and by the way, I don't think you said this spoiler spiel yet.
Okay, yep, spoiler alert, you guys. There's going to be a lot of spoilers when it comes to these reviews, so I know it's a little bit late for that, but at the same time, you should know by now it's been a week and a half, so we're talking about it. We're talking about everything that happened, so please continue.
Yeah, once the manager guy had that conversation with him, I literally leaned over to the person I was seeing the movie with, and I said, and he's going to kill himself. And she was like, nuh-uh. I was like, yes, he is. Yes, he is. And I'm like, probably with a belt.
To your credit.
But he talks about it. Why would you include that in the movie at all if, in the rehab portion, if it wasn't going to be foreshadowing. But, oh my gosh, did I love this movie. Oh my gosh. I loved it. Me and my friend Sarah, who went with me, we were kept looking at each other this is so cute. Oh my gosh. It was, a roller coaster would be a great analogy for it, but at the same time, you already, it's a messed up relationship, and he's a drug addict. He's a drug addict and an alcoholic. So you want to root, you're rooting for them, but at the same time, you should already know it's a destructive, deceptive, bad thing to get into. And I loved Lady Gaga's character throughout the whole thing because that's what she was. She's like, dude, he's an alcoholic. I'm not even going to hang out with him. I'm not even going to go do stuff with him. And then, her job gets so shitty, she's like, oh, fuck it, whatever. I'm quitting my job, and I'll go see him play this night. And, I think we all, as the audience, kind of knew, oh, obviously, if she goes to go see him, he's going to have her come sing. But just the way that it all worked out, even, us as the audience member, when he was like, can I get Allie to come out on stage and sing with me? We were like, oh, no! And, my friend Sarah was really animated. She was like, no, he didn't! And, I was like, oh, my gosh, this is great. And then it was just so beautiful. And hearing both of their voices together, and it was both of their voices, Bradley Cooper, Lady Gaga talked to him enough and taught him, and I was like, okay, you need to really sing because people will love it. And so he did. And I don't know if anyone else who's seen the movie has felt this way, but I really did feel like whoever wrote it, I know Bradley Cooper was part of writing it, but it did feel like it was written for Lady Gaga. The whole singing at a drag queen bar and being involved in that community the way she is, and then coming out and having them try to change her whole image because of her looks. That's for real. If anyone's seen any Lady Gaga documentaries, that's really what it is. She always talks about how her nose didn't. And a big part of the movie is her tracing her nose and being like, oh, my nose is too big. Something's wrong about me. This is why I can't make it, even though I have an incredible voice. And seeing them try to make up star, that's what they did to Lady Gaga. But Lady Gaga was not like that all the time. She just brought out her inner monster and freak, and she got a lot of fans from it, and I don't think she regrets doing it at all. But then she took a few years off and sung with I forget his name, he's super famous, an old kind of Frank Sinatra type of singer guy. She took a whole year to, like, go on tour with him and just sing, like, the oldies and be, like, in proper attire, have her hair a certain way, you know, and go back to just singing. And that's kind of what she did in this movie, too, is, like, she just, like, ended up, like, dyeing her hair back and being like, okay, I've evolved, I've made it, and now I can come back down. Now you can be real once you make it. Which is an interesting concept, I think, for anyone who's attempting to be in the industry. And I was in love the whole time. I loved this movie.
It's really one of those movies where, first of all, I will give credit where credit is due. We talk about, you know, who wrote this. Bradley Cooper, Eric Roth, and Will Fetters, they wrote this story. So it absolutely is a fantastic story. And again, hopefully, it's not the last time we see Bradley Cooper, you know, as a director, because he did a fantastic job. But also, this is kind of crazy because it mentions the fact that this is actually the fourth remake of this film. There was one that was, the original one was in 1937, then they had a musical in 1954, a rock musical in 1976, and then a Bollywood romance film in 2013. So, geez Louise, it's, that's actually pretty crazy, the amount of history that this movie has, but also the fact that it tells such a really good story. I mean, so many people probably still believe, you know, oh, Lady Gaga, she's beautiful. There's no way that a girl like that would think that she's, you know, ugly or she's not that attractive. It's like, no, there are still a lot of women out there that, you know, they could be beautiful as can be, but they're still very subconscious about themselves. They're still very, they don't think that, you know, they have the perfect body. It's like, yeah, they have, you know, the perfect form, they have the perfect figure, but maybe, like, their ears are too big, or their nose is, like they said with her, like, too weird. And it's just one of those things where it is a story of basically where Bradley Cooper's character is basically saying, you know, you're beautiful just the way you are. And, you know, slowly, Lady Gaga's character slowly starts realizing that, is that, you know, she needs to be more self-conscious about herself and think more positively about herself. And I'll never forget, there's one scene in there that really just wrenched my heart and just made me think, oh, God, no, I didn't want this to happen. It's basically where Bradley Cooper's character is getting all drunk, and Allie is in the tub. Yeah, I know, this is kind of weird, and it's not going the direction that you think it is. They basically get into, like, this little mini fight where they're talking about, like, career moves and how, like that, and then Bradley Cooper's character says a line where he calls Allie ugly. It's one of those things where it's like, dude, no. That, I mean, you know, the ending definitely is very heartbreaking, but that was just the beginning where it's just like, no, dude, no. You're the one that gave her the confidence. You're the one that made her feel good about herself. But now you're the one that's bringing her down because she's making poor decisions. There's a better way to do this, dude. No.
Yeah, that was a sad. By the way, the person who Lady Gaga says liberated her and the older gentleman that actually sang with her for a while is Tony Bennett.
Tony Bennett? Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yes. So that's why I can't think of his name, but I had to look it up. But yes, so she literally in an article when she was taking her year off, she's like, I've been controlled for years, and he liberates me. So literally, kind of what this movie was about, Lady Gaga lived through it already. So it was, to me, I was very intrigued by the similarities of the character Allie and her real life. Having an older gentleman like, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting his name, Jackson Maine, got it. So Bradley Cooper's character, Jackson Maine, having him, like, see her perform and believe in her and her talent, and then having her, like, the industry come over and want to change her to make her more popular. And then that's when that scene happens, is, one, he's a drug addict, so that's something that I think if anyone has experienced, anyone with this awful disease of alcoholism and drug addiction, they do things that you can't imagine a normal, healthy human doing, and, like, destroying their life. Like, self-destructive is the best terminology for it. Like, anything that's good, they will destroy in order to get themselves high and get themselves on this drug roller coaster. And so that tub scene is literally her disappointed in him So her calling out his faults and him being kind to her at first. He was kind to her at first in the tub scene. He was like saying, no, I think you're beautiful, blah, blah, blah. And then when she got real with him, he just decided to stab her type of thing with words. And like saying, no, you're ugly, actually, and blah, blah, blah. And you just saw it, like, no one believed. Like, and he apologized. It was bad. It was a scene where you're like, oh my gosh, like, can't believe this is happening to them. But I think the worst scene of all, which I kind of laughed at in the theater, but at the same time I was like, this is just horrendous, is her Grammy moment.
Grammy moment.
Yeah, you don't remember, like, when she won the Grammy?
That one. Okay.
Like, the worst scene in the whole movie is she, like, gets her big moment of winning a Grammy, and he is just messed up. And he, like, I hear him talking while she's doing her speech, and then he comes up there, and then he pees himself on stage. Oh, God. And I was like, oh no, like, and I was laughing because I'm like, it's kind of funny, but it's just humiliating. And she was just like, and they all know they're married. Then it was just bad. And then he goes to rehab and he tells the story of how when he was 13, he did try to kill himself. Like, and he thought it was funny because he used a belt and he tied it up on a fan in the ceiling. And when he tried to do it, the fan fell and broke and stayed down for 3 weeks because nobody noticed and cared about why the fan was not hanging on the ceiling anymore. And he's like, well, yeah, I was stupid. I've never tried to kill myself again. But it was like everybody was laughing about the moment. And, like, to me, I was like, no one says this without, like, you don't just lose that. And sadly, that was so messed up with the manager, her manager, Allie's manager, and Jackson Maine's manager came in and told him just how embarrassing he is and how he's ruining her career and her life. And that's what he says to him. And then she comes in and she, like, literally kind of validates it, kind of without, like, she didn't mean to validate it, but she's like, I'm canceling my tours so that we can hang out together and we can be a family again, and I'll just have one last show tonight and I want you to come out and perform with me. And I just knew, you saw it in his face, it's such brilliant acting. Bradley Cooper was amazing. And he was just like, yeah, of course I will. And I'm like, no, he's not. No, he's not.
Yeah, I will admit that was the moment. Well, there was, like, layers to it where literally that manager, I thought to myself, yeah, I do not like this guy, but that moment there was the one where I was like, I hate you. You are just not at all the right person to be talking to about this kind of deal. And like you said, it's just, again, where he's already feeling crappy as is, and him to say that and then have that validation by his wife is where it just sent him over the edge, and it's always a very sad thing. And I will say this, that hopefully this is one of those movies where people do realize that, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to, go in and to get checked out, to go to rehab, to do these kind of things. Because I don't think that anything Bradley Cooper was getting across was like, all things are going to be, solved by, by killing yourself. No, it's one of those things where it ends in that note where it's like, they exonerate, the positives that he had in his life. But one of the things that definitely did stand out was, again, his old manager, Jackson's manager.
Brother. That's his brother.
Oh, his brother, okay. Basically explained that, it wasn't her fault, it was his own fault. He didn't, he wasn't in the right mindset. And that was one of those things where it's like, it's kind of true. It's a harsh thing to say, but it is kind of true. So hopefully, nobody takes it the wrong way. This is a fantastic movie, like we said. Box office currently hits at $136.2 million. It ranks as an 84. Actually, it's pretty high up with critics and pretty high up with a lot of people in the audiences. So it's still a really good movie, and definitely one of those movies that we're going to be looking forward to hopefully getting at least one Oscar nomination. If Lady Gaga gets Best Actress in it, I think that she might be my forerunner for, Best Actress of the Year, because she definitely did a fantastic job. I'm trying to think of like others that really stood out, and I'm thinking to myself, let's see here, who else would be there? I mean, there's probably some people from like Black Panther, somebody from other movies, but so far she's the diamond in the rough as far as this year 2018 goes. So I will be surprised if she does not win, or if she doesn't even get nominated. I will probably be like, no, the one time I'm actually wanting somebody that's hatched out of an egg to get an Oscar, she's not even nominated. Come on, give me something.
She will be. I'm almost certain. And I mean, Bradley Cooper is who I want to see really take home something. His character was really hard to portray, and he even had to change his voice. Like, he always talked down here. Like, that's not his voice. Like, but it was just great all around. And obviously, like, I didn't like really, really cry, but I was tearing up hardcore, like, in that last song. Like, it was beautiful, and the imagery that they were showing was just gorgeous. Like, him singing the song at the end on the piano, and then her just watching it before, like, because she performs it, but then they, like, cut to him singing it to her, and, like, their heads coming together and making, like, a perfect heart, and, it was just, cinematography-wise, it was gorgeous. They shot it amazingly, and, yeah, that's going to be awesome. I'm happy that this is probably going to be an Oscar movie, and it's a popular movie, too. I think that people have heard a lot about it. It has stars that people are drawn to. I think it'll be one that people are going to be like, okay, wow, yeah, it deserves an Oscar. It deserves all the awards that it's going to be thrown at it.
Definitely. So, with that being said, final grading on your side of, A Star is Born, what would you probably grade it? I give it 2 thumbs up. It's definitely worth watching. If anybody wants to watch it twice, I would not blame you. It's absolutely amazing. More than likely, I will probably end up, what is it? I'll probably end up owning it on Vudu or something like that. It's just so fantastic.
Yeah, I definitely would give it an A. Yeah, it was worth it. It was amazing. Oh.
Yep, we're good. So the...
Okay, it just paused on your basement. I was like, oh. He is paused.
Skype, damn it.
But no, yeah, it was a great movie. But go on to your next movie.
Next movie here is one that I've actually been totally loving. I know critics have definitely been bashing it, but audiences have actually been clashing with it, saying that it is actually better than a lot of people really give credit for. And I will say this, that I have friends that have been part of the minority of saying that this movie is horrible. That being the movie of Venom. Whoo, boy howdy, this was a really, really good... I will say this, that I think one thing a lot of people don't like about this is the fact that Tom Hardy definitely does not come off as the Eddie Brock that people knew. Eddie Brock is supposed to be this asshole, he's supposed to be egomaniacal, and there's some points where he does turn out to be that way, but it's not the way that they want it to be. For me, I look at it and I think to myself, you know what, this is one of those movies that, again, they're trying to do a different perspective on it. Venom is supposed to be the anti-hero, and he does play that so very well. You have Tom Hardy, playing Eddie Brock, but also voicing the symbiote known as Venom. And honestly, it still battles with this whole deal where Venom is basically like this voice in your head where you're trying to basically combat with it. You're basically trying to not let it take you over, but then finding a way to work with it. It's such a very good movie. I know some people, and I will agree, that some of the supporting characters, they're not exactly that memorable. I mean, Michelle Williams, she's not I put her like this. Michelle Williams is basically like the woman that's a transition. She always finds a way to help transition into the next scene. So it's kind of like, okay, she shows up, we're going to be going on to something big. Oh, here she is again. Let's go on to the next big scene. Let's go on to the next one. I personally liked the villain because he was supposed to be a guy who literally is supposed to be just, this guy's like, I want to better the world, but also I want to do it at the expense of humans. I want to do it at the expense of people. It's one of those things where it's like, it's hard for me to say that I love this villain, but some people say like, oh, he's generic, he's nothing too special. Honestly, I liked him. I thought he was a good character. The Riot symbiote was an interesting choice, but I'm not like fully against it. I do like the fact that they not only incorporated the fact that symbiotes are weakened to like sonic sound, but also to fire, which definitely plays into the big climax at the end. All in all, very entertaining movie, and that's really what Marvel is. I could say this about a lot of Marvel movies compared to DC movies. DC definitely tries to take more of a darker, somewhat more realistic approach to some of the things that they do. Obviously, this is all fiction, you guys. But with Marvel, they try to, incorporate not only those same approaches, and they still have some really dark themes. I mean, you look at Spider-Man 1 and 2 with Tobey Maguire, case in point right there. But they also try to add some entertainment to them, because there's some things that, maybe they want to appease to kids, but they also want us to be like, it's not all that bad. It's one of those things where some people could actually just joke about it. I mean, for God's sakes, there's a moment during this movie where basically somehow Michelle Williams gets the symbiote, and some people are kind of all confused, like, well, did they just make Venom sexy? What the hell is this? I was just kind of like, okay, this is kind of an interesting deal. And then there's like a joke at the end where we have the dark humor, which was enough for me, where Tom Hardy, Eddie Brock basically makes a joke about, he felt really good inside of you, and Michelle Williams like, okay, we're done here. I'm just like, okay, that was enough dark humor for me. I'm totally okay with this. Even though some people are like, well, man, I wish we had that 40 minutes of other stuff that Tom Hardy wanted to see. It's like, there's some dark humor that's enough for me, and that was one of those moments where it's like, yeah, that's the amount of dark humor I needed in that, and it just fits so well. The humor in here is very organic. It doesn't feel like it's just forced into it, and honestly, the way that they play off Eddie Brock and Venom is absolutely amazing. Basically, Venom takes over at first. I will say that I didn't like the fact that they kind of gave away the symbiote suit a little early, because they actually showed it through like a reflection of a car deal. It's one of those things where it's like, okay, if they would have crossed that out and just had the big reveal at the scene where, he's fallen off a motorcycle, he's basically getting threatened by this guy, and then they had that big reveal there, that would have been awesome. That would have been one of those things where people would have been like, yes, I'm totally okay with this. This is awesome. We get to see Venom. Yes, it was in the trailers. I don't care. This was the perfect place to reveal that, that deal. And honestly, the action sequences, phenomenal. Absolutely amazing. There's one scene where Venom basically is taking on some like SWAT team members, and he's just throwing them left and right. And for those of you that are complaining, oh, we're not going to get that much violence, there's literally a moment where he chomps a dude's head off, but we don't get to see the body afterwards. I don't care. He chomps a dude's head off. I do not really care. As long as it's insinuated, yes, it's PG-13, so obviously you don't want to scar kids for life. So that's one of those things where I'm just like, I'm again okay with this. There's enough dark humor. There's enough violence. There's enough. Honestly, I don't think there was there's like a little bit of gore, mainly from the spots where they see like broken bones or people dying, stuff like that. But it's enough for me to say that this is a very solid movie. And to my surprise, I was not expecting this. That audiences actually preferred this movie over A Star Is Born, but very, very slightly, like 4%, especially if you look up on Rotten Tomatoes. Of course, critics are just like, oh, A Star Is Born is better than Venom. But you look at the audience reviews, and people actually prefer Venom over A Star Is Born. And maybe it's because of the fact that we're finally getting something different that's not, a Topher Grace, That 70s Show knockoff. And people are saying, well, that Venom was better because he was a bit of an asshole. It's like, yeah, but at the same time, it's Topher Grace. How are you going to take him seriously as Venom? I'm sorry. But also, I love the fact that, again, they changed up the alien voice instead of just having him have his normal voice, what they did in Spider-Man 3, because that just did not make any sense or make any sort of people, like, pleased at all. I just recently watched Spider-Man 3. I might have to watch it again so that we can upload my reactions on YouTube again, because it was a punishment and I lost, so I have to definitely show people the agony that I had to go through when watching Spider-Man 3 again. I mean, I appreciated some stuff more, but again, once I got to the Topher Grace, Eddie Brock deal, I'm just like, yeah, no, just thank God for Venom. I'm totally okay with this. It's one of those things where it's like, oh, do you prefer Spider-Man 3 or Venom? Venom. No contest. And when you look at the box office deal, this, again, surprises the hell out of me. Budget of like $100 to $160 million. It actually doubled that, as the box office has a deal of $377.4 million. Absolutely awesome. I'm totally okay with this. And there's an end credit scene where Eddie Brock actually goes to this prison deal, and we get the reveal of Cletus Cassidy, played by the one and only Mr. Woody Harrelson. I'm actually looking forward to the sequel where we see Carnage getting involved. People are definitely kind of against maybe Woody Harrelson playing it, just because it was weird. Some people said the reason why they didn't like him was because of the fact that he had this Ronald McDonald hairstyle, but it's one of those things where I'm like, I don't care. I'm getting Carnage, for God's sakes. I just don't care. And the fact of the matter is that they are planning at least 2 more Venom movies, because in an article it read that Tom Hardy has signed on for at least a 2 more picture deal with that. And for those that are thinking, well, we're probably still not going to get that, there was no Spider-Man involved, so this movie obviously sucks. Like, it didn't need Spider-Man. The title says Venom. It doesn't say Venom and Spider-Man makes a brief appearance. It makes no sense to do it like that. I would much rather have them try something different with Venom than just going through the predictable deal with, Spider-Man involved. And plus, nobody really knows where Spider-Man is right now. It's not one of those things where we can just say, oh, Spider-Man can make a brief cameo. It's like, at this point, he's battling Thanos right now. So I don't think that it's one of those things where it makes absolute sense to have him in this, even if it's sort of like a weird brief cameo. If they would have somehow did a tie-in where they had the little disintegration deal with some of the characters, then I would be totally convinced that there's going to be a crossover coming. But it's one of those things where it's like, it's by itself. I'm totally okay with this. It's really good. And there's even another mid-credit scene where they actually show a scene from the upcoming Spider-Man movie Into the Spider-Verse with Miles Morales, as well as Peter Parker. It's a really good scene. It's one of those things where I understand where they're coming from. It's one of those things where it seems like the director was even kind of like, okay, well, if you do not like this movie, at least you have this to look forward to. So maybe that's why they did it, or maybe it's just one of those things where it's like, we're going to try something different here. Hopefully you like it. So far, I'm down for it. It's one of those things where I'm totally okay with it. So my final grading of it is like a 1.5 up. Was it better than Star is Born? Not in my opinion, but it's still one of those movies that I definitely enjoy. So those have been your spoilers.
Yeah, it's probably good in a different way, obviously. Yeah. Totally different movies. So for anyone to be like, oh, one is better than the other, you're comparing like a love story to a hero film. It's not going to be the same. I've heard mixed reviews too, kind of just like you. They're like, it's entertaining. That's what I hear most in the positive realm. It's very entertaining. I've heard some complaining of they wanted more symbiote.
You kind of just okay. Well, at least they changed it instead of in the commercial where they said it's symbiote. I'm like, no. If that needs to change, it's not symbiote, it's symbiote. Get it right. And then he said it in the movie. I'm like, thank you. I'm at least happy for that. If somebody wants to, crap on anything, they can't crap on that anymore. So.
Exactly. Yeah. But I hear good things. I did hear about the Carnage at the end, and I'm like, that's exciting. Especially if you just get more like different symbiotes coming out, all the suits and stuff, I think everyone will enjoy that. I say like it would be kind of nice to have a different universe like type of thing with Spider-Man. Like if they want to have Miles Morales be the Spider-Man in this one, I would dig it. Like, it would be kind of cool. Because then we could have Spider-Man in there, and it could be really fun. So, I don't know. I haven't seen the film yet. I will. Hasn't been on top priority. I'm just not that big of a fan of Venom and that stuff. Like, I really am not. But I will, because I am a Marvel fan, so I'm going to go see semi-Marvel film. But yeah, it should be good. I'm expecting it to not be amazing. I'm expecting it to be very entertaining. And it's funny, I was actually thinking about just the female role in that, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's Michelle Williams again. I'm like, you know what? And this may sound weird, but to me, I was saying it in a form of like positivity. Like, she's a very like star that you would see on the street and you not know she's a star. If you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You're just like she's super talented and very good at what she does, but she always plays these roles that are kind of just like there. Like, she was in Manchester by the Sea, and she's just like a there role. Like, she's that female that's there. And you're like, oh, okay. Like, she doesn't have, like, they don't over-sexualize her ever, and they don't ever do, like, these negative things to her because she's a strong actress. She doesn't need that. But I was just wondering if, like, I don't know your opinions. Do you think that if they got somebody that was a little more, like, ass-kicky, would that be more entertaining? Or that I don't necessarily know the female that's supposed to be hanging out with Brock. But yeah, who is that? Is she supposed to be like kind of a badass? I would think that if she's hanging out with Venom, like, she's doesn't have very strong morals, but
she plays kind of a role in the Venom comics. She was supposed to be Eddie Brock's fiance, and then there's a point where I think I'm trying to remember. I think she loses like interest in him, or they get into like this huge argument. Basically, they address that in the beginning of the movie. And she's kind of another like their character. Does she go like full badass mode, like a Jennifer Lawrence, or say, oh gosh, what's another one that might stand out? Somebody like that. No, she's not like that kind of a kick-ass character, but she is one of those characters where she plays a little bit of a purpose in the movie. One thing that I actually read in a article as well as in a video was that apparently she is one of those characters that gets killed off by Venom. And as soon as I saw that, and this is after I saw Venom, I'm like, oh geez, if there's a point where Venom basically kills off Michelle Williams, that is literally going to be one of those moments where it's like, I'm not saddened, but I'm kind of shocked that they went down this route. I know it's for, like comic book accuracy, you could say, but it's one of those things where, again, it's kind of like, wow, they killed her off. Holy cow. That's not at all what I was expecting. Okay, we're going down this road again. Okay, here comes the dark. All right. It's interesting. But, like I said, she does play a little bit of a prominent role. Like I said, she's kind of one of those characters where when you see her, it evolves into the next scene. It goes into the next scene. It goes into the next scene. Stuff like that. So, is she important? Not exactly. I think I'd probably go like 50-50 on her. It's like, I could take her or I could leave her. I'm not going to lie. But I do agree. She definitely does seem like she's one of those characters that is kind of there sometimes. You mentioned Manchester by the Sea, also Greatest Showman. It's one of those roles where it's like, okay, she's not quite at the role where, it's like Oscar winning, but I think her time is coming. She's definitely really good, but I think that she just needs that right role to get her to that point. I don't think this is definitely not one of those movies that I would say like, oh, Michelle Williams was the best part of Venom. It's like, no, she was kind of there. She added a little more detail to the movie, but it's not one of those things where it's like, oh, this is definitely Academy Award winning. I will literally be shocked if she does that. Definitely not going to happen, but it's one of those things where it's like, if you see that happen, expect me to be like, okay, I guess the Academy has gone insane. I know people have been saying it for years, but it's one of those things where it's like, okay, this is the believable factor that they have literally lost it. So,
okay, just wondering, because I just feel like it was very interesting for me being at Ace Comic-Con, because like when you get to see stars not in all their like crazy attire and makeup and red carpet, like it's just like I wouldn't notice people. Right. Like, I would notice Chris Evans just because I think he's that big. But I wouldn't have noticed Tom Hiddleston. Didn't even know that was him until people started screaming, and then I was like, "Oh gosh, what's going on?" They're like, "It's Tom!" And I was like, "Oh my, okay."
Oh my.
Yes. Because it was also funny, like, the booth next to me, which was really cool, there were the Sonic Boom cosplay group, and they were talking about, like, yeah, like, do you get starstruck? Have you gotten starstruck from anyone? And I was like, I don't think so. I'm like, the only person that I was too nervous to go up and talk to was like a voice actor. So that's just me really liking this voice actor a lot. Obviously, it's Johnny Young Basha. Ichigo Kurosaki from Bleach, Trigun, some of my favorite animes of all time. And so, like, I had an opportunity to go, like, just let him know how amazing I thought he was. And I just was like, you know what? No, thank you. I don't want to. I'm going to, like, turn all red and then just, like, be annoying. So I'm like, nah, I'm not going to go talk to him. It's not the right time. But, like, people are like, oh, like, would you go up and say hi to, like, Chris Evans and stuff? I'm like, oh, hell yeah. Be like, oh, dude, awesome. But, like, yeah, it's funny. I'm like, there's just certain things everybody, I think, fans out about. And so, like, if I closed my eyes and, like, imagined it was Ichigo in front of me, I'd be like, oh, my God. I love Bleach so much.
I would.
The Captain America, not so much.
Yeah, I mean, to your credit, it's the same thing with Karen Gillan, where literally, you know, I see her as Nebula, and I never would have guessed who she kind of looked like until I saw the second Jumanji movie. I'm just kind of like, well, okay, this girl's kind of cute. Well, what other movies has she been in? And then it's just like, oh, she was Nebula in Avengers. Wait, what? She's in Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm like, what? My life no longer makes sense anymore. She just looks so different. And
well, yeah, I mean, obviously, those actors and actresses, they have, like, full body makeup and, like, prosthetics on. Like, Ronan, too. Like, it was funny. Like, somebody showed me, like, their picture. They're like, look who I met. And I was like,
cool.
Like, a homeless guy on the street? Like, is that? And they're like, no, it's Lee Pace. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I still don't know who you're talking about. And then he's like, you've never seen Guardians of the Galaxy? I was like, I have. I've never seen that guy. And they're like, Ronan. I was like, oh, you mean the guy covered in makeup the whole time? Thanks for showing. Like, am I supposed to know what he looks like? Like, it was really funny. And so, like, when he was on stage talking, I was like, no, you wouldn't have even known by his voice, because he does such a different voice for Ronan. Like, that's obviously, thank goodness that's not his real voice. Thanos! Like, if he talked like that in real life, you'd be like, ugh.
Boner killer.
Yeah, like, don't talk anymore. We hate your voice. But no, it's just interesting, I think. Like, for somebody wanting to be in the industry and everything, it's like, oh, wow, like, I would have never, like, you would have never known this person was what just like, you're like, oh, you see them on stage, the camera on them, and you're like, oh, yeah, I recognize them. Okay, yes. But I suck at that, though, too. Like, when I'm in clubs and stuff, people will be, like, pointing out, like, oh, do you see that? Do you see that person? I'm like, I don't. Like, what person? Which one? Like, the guy on stage is Flo Rida. I was like, oh. Okay. Like, you know what I mean? You're like I just don't recognize people. It's probably just I have a problem with recognizing people and remembering, like, people's, like, names and stuff. So I think that it's just me. But I just think, too, when you see them just walking by, like, because most of them are, like, really scruffy and, like, have hats on and stuff. So you're just like, I would never know. But maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm not a good enough fan. I gotta try harder.
Nah, I would have been there in the same boat with you. It's one of those things where it's like, well, you know, you see them as, you know, the character, and it's like, oh, it's awesome. And then you see them as the actor, and it's just like, oh, I didn't recognize you without, like, you know, Tom Hiddleston, you know, as soon as he grows a beard, it's like, you don't exactly look like Loki. You look kind of like a regular schmo that would just be walking on the street or something like that. And then it's like, no, it's Loki. It's like, and then he just shows, like, a picture of him as a baby face. I'll be like, okay, now I see it.
Exactly. It's just interesting. And, again, we could talk about this next time when we talk conventions. But I just wanted to throw it out there. I was like, I would have never known these people.
Yeah, all right.
They were.
So, We'll see if we can do this like real quickly. If we go a little bit past the hour pointer, that's fine. But a couple of news stories that actually broke out since we talked about Marvel. There's actually a lot of rumors going around that Avengers 4, which a lot of people have been throwing out a lot of names. So far, I think one name that seems to be a constant is Annihilation. Which honestly, I look at that, I think to myself, did they just see the movie with Natalie Portman, Annihilation, and just figured, yeah, let's make this the last chapter? Like, I don't know how I feel about this. It's weird, but at the same time, if it does very well, I'll be like, okay, anytime I think of Annihilation, I will think of Avengers. But this movie here, regardless of the title, it's possibly going to be a 3-hour movie. So I'm sure a lot of people are like, well, I don't want to sit in the movie that long. It's like, I would do it. Because here's the thing. They have so much exhibition that they have to do. They have to explain, character development. They got to find a way to, beat Thanos, which is not going to be easy. Obviously, they're going to have all the, main characters, most of the main characters that they've killed off. And if they do bring people back, they got to figure out, okay, where are they going to go from here? I'm all for it. Because if they take that extra few hours to, explain where everybody's going to go from there, where everything stands, I'd be okay with it. And it's one of those things where it's like, if it's that long, hey, it's Marvel, it's Avengers, I'm okay with this. I will probably be crying when certain people are dead, but at the same time, it's one of those things where it's like, it's still worth it. It's still worth it because this is a damn good movie. And I know we still have we have Captain Marvel beforehand, which again, I preface this by saying, do not show the last Avengers trailer until Captain Marvel comes out. Just give it to us then. We will wait. It's fine. So far the trailers for Captain Marvel are good. I am hoping that they get better and people are going to go see it. And if it's just for that trailer, that's fine. At least they paid their good money to go see something good. So, yeah, I'm all for the 3 hours if they do go down into that. I don't know. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think the 3 hours would be good. I don't think anyone really is going to complain, all honesty. Like, no one's going to complain about that. Everybody who wants to go to this movie is going to love it. So, yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah, fair enough. They also released another Glass trailer in which they show a little bit more of the character development for James McAvoy, Samuel Jackson, Bruce Willis. They definitely are making it into a different kind of superhero movie. They are having a deal where definitely seems like Mr. Glass is going to be kind of like the puppet master behind James McAvoy's character, which I'm all for. And I'm kind of looking forward to the idea of a James McAvoy versus Bruce Willis kind of fight because, oh God help me, that just sounds beautiful. And basically having Samuel Jackson as the mastermind behind it, yeah, I'm in a place of happiness right now. It's one of those things where it's like I'm looking forward to seeing Glass. It looks awesome. Is it going to be Oscar worthy? Probably not, but it's still one of those things where it's like, it's an enjoyable movie. As long as I enjoy the movie, as long as I get to see James McAvoy being completely amazing, because I think this is one of his best roles, probably since I've seen him in Wanted. And, you've seen him in the X-Men, whatever they want to call it. They want to call it a trilogy, anthology, whatever they want to call it. You've seen him in a lot of the X-Men movies, so you kind of know what he's all about. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to Glass. It's just, I'm excited. That's basically what I'm getting at.
Yeah, no, I mean, it sounds good. It sounds good to me. I haven't yet watched Split. Not really my cup of tea, but I mean, if they're trying to make it more of a comic book series, like I'll watch it all. That's fine.
Yeah. Did you know that they actually released a teaser trailer for Aladdin?
I have not.
Yep, definitely go watch that. And honestly, it's pretty good. I'm totally okay with it. With the way they're going with it so far, I kind of like it. They definitely are not making it like an exact replica of what the animated movie was, but I'm still okay with it. It's one of those things where, I see what the Aladdin looks like. He looks great. They have a different design for the lamp, which is good. The Cave of Wonders definitely looks just as intimidating as probably in the animated movies. So, yeah, I'm again looking forward to it. So the last thing we'll close on is the possibilities of not one, not two, but 3 live-action remakes that could be in the deal. One possibly being directed by the one and only Jordan Peele, which honestly I'm okay with, but I'm definitely going to want to know your thoughts about it because I think it's a subject dear and close to your heart.
I commented on this. I'm excited about that.
Let's actually just go right into that. The possibility of a Gargoyles live-action deal. Now, whether it's a TV show, whether it's a movie, totally okay with it. Jordan Peele has expressed interest in directing it. Honestly, I'd be okay with it because Jordan Peele does such a fantastic job directing. If you haven't seen Get Out, go watch it. It's awesome. But I think also, he could bring that, dark element to the Gargoyle franchise as well as there's a little bit of light humor to it, and who knows better about, comedic stuff than Jordan Peele. I mean, for God's sakes, he was a part of Mad TV. He was one of the pivotal actors in that entire, deal. So, honestly, absolutely okay with it.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously they've been listening to our podcast of maybe a live action of this, so I'm glad Jordan Peele's a fan.
Shout out to Jordan Peele.
But no, it honestly just, I'm very excited. I think it's going to be awesome. Gargoyles in general was an amazing cartoon that was probably a little too advanced for the kids it was targeting. I love gargoyle stuff in general. I do read books about gargoyles, guys. I read books about anything, so I probably, you name it, I probably read it. So I think it would be amazing to bring them to real life and to have kind of a little bit of a Beauty and the Beast feel, while also being very dark, PG-13 at the lightest rating for it. I do not want it to be like a Hasbro movie. Like, I do not want it to be like the Ninja Turtles and the Transformers movies. I want it to be a Disney movie.
So,
and I want it to be good.
So basically you're saying Michael Bay, stay away from this movie.
Get away from it, Michael Bay. Away from it.
I totally agree with that. I am totally fine with that.
And what's funny though,
what?
Like, Loki, like, Megan Fox would fit that character very well. Like, the detective.
Yeah.
Not that I want her to, but, like, she's not April O'Neil. She is whatever her name is. I forget her name. In Gargoyles. I haven't seen it in a long time. But, like, look.
They just basically look alike, basically.
Yeah, and also, like, because she kind of looks like a Carmen Sandiego type, like, either Hispanic or like, super Italian, or, like, you know what I mean? Like, and, like, Megan Fox can pull off that ambiguity of, like, is she white? Is she just olive? Is she, I don't know, but she's pretty, and no, she fits. Unlike April O'Neil.
Right. It is kind of funny when you compare, like, the original low-budgeted Mutant Ninja Turtles, and you think to yourself, yeah, that one had the perfect April O'Neil compared to the new live-action one that Michael Bay decided to do. It's like, dude, what did you do with these turtles? They're literally, like, bloated up toys that somebody was thinking, like, oh, we could do this, and we'll just call them the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Like, they don't need to look that realistic, dude. No, just no. They're made like this for a reason. But you mentioned her doing Carmen Sandiego, and I'm like, I would actually be for it if they decide, hey, we're going to do live action Carmen Sandiego, and it was.
She has that look.
She does. I agree with that.
But yeah, she's not an April O'Neil.
No, definitely not. 2 other ones that have been kind of hinted at, which might be interesting. First one being Mega Man live action remake. Honestly, I'd be okay with that. It's one of those things where they've done so many reboots of, like, TV shows for it, video games for it. I mean, Mega Man 11 just came out, so people are definitely really on board for that. So in my opinion, if they make it into an actual movie, I think it'd be kind of cool. Maybe they could make it into like a trilogy deal where maybe he takes on a couple bosses here, takes a couple bosses here, and then the third one is when they get to the final deal. And if they stick to maybe the original story, which is, I think, Mega Man's either sister or his girlfriend basically gets kidnapped, I think that would actually be kind of cool. I think it would be kind of those things where it's like, okay, he's going to save somebody that he loves, and he's acquiring more powers as he keeps going, and just having this kind of build-up deal. Honestly, people would probably think, well, the stories would just keep repeating and repeating. Yeah, but the villains would be different. It would be amazing. You cannot tell me that you would not want to see different villains in each of them. I mean, that's literally Batman to a T. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to offend anybody by saying, I'm comparing Mega Man to Batman. Definitely two different things. But, Batman is still the same character, but he battles against different villains and makes him think differently. So, if you do that with Mega Man, yes, obviously it'd be more like a childhood deal, but honestly, it could work. I think it'd be absolutely amazing. So, I'm looking forward to seeing how that works out. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, yeah. I think that it's already been pretty apparent that Mega Man to me is more of an anime. And bringing anime into live action has been really good this year. Like, I think people really did like Death Note. I have not watched the new Bleach yet, because I'm a little, scared to. But I heard good things about it. It's not exact, and I think we have the technology now to make some of these crazy animated, amazing classics into live action, just like what Disney's doing. Like, Disney started it, I think, and anime is holy cow, people like this. And so I think doing a Mega Man, it would be smart.
Definitely agree with that. The final thing we'll talk about, and this one I think is actually justified. It's one of those things where I think a lot of people might not be okay with this because it's still a really good movie, and obviously they made so many sequels to it. But they talked about a live-action remake of Lilo and Stitch. Now, here's the thing. I know a lot of people have definitely been saying, why are they focusing on so many Disney remakes? Why are they doing this? Why are they doing this? But I look at this and I think to myself, it might work, actually, because obviously when they first came out with it, it was still good, it was still fun, it was still heartwarming. If they make this into a live-action remake, I think it might be better than the original because they could incorporate more Hawaiian culture into it. I think that the CGI animation would be really spot on for that. I am kind of surprised that they didn't do this to begin with, but, you win some, you lose some. Maybe it was just one of those things with a setup for it. But I would honestly be okay with seeing that. Again, you bring in actual people from Hawaii, you bring in the culture, add a little bit more to it. Honestly, if I hear Hawaiian Roller Coaster Ride in that movie, I will literally be like, yes, one thing that they can at least compare to the other ones is yes, you got that. Maybe you can add some more Hawaiian-themed kind of songs from the culture. I think that some of the characters may be a little bit more well-developed. If they add some of the comedy in there, that would still be good. I still think that maybe one of the best scenes of that entire deal is the stupid hot potato deal where Stitch and Jumba are just going back and forth saying nope, you take the gun, nope, oh no, it's your birthday, happy birthday, and just doing this random deal, naming off holidays, and then they just literally play a game of hot potato. It's I want this scene in this movie. It's very entertaining, and I think a lot of people will definitely appreciate it if it is done in CGI. Just seeing two guys just tossing a gun back and forth before it blows up. I think it could do better. I just think it's one of those things where, as far as other movies go, we definitely have talked about how it didn't need a live remake, or it's okay, it does as good, maybe slightly better. But I think this could be one of the first movies where we could definitely look at it and say, I think it could do better than the original. That's my thoughts on it. I think that, again, CGI would be absolutely amazing for it. Hopefully they get the right, character cast. If they somehow try to incorporate somebody really dumb, if they have Seth Rogen voice Jumba, which honestly, why is he voicing Pumbaa in the live-action Lion King, which we know is not actually live action, it's just CGI live action. Yeah, so I'm for it. It's one of those movies where it's you want to do this a live action remake? Go for it. I'm totally down for it. But I don't know. Am I just am I just that crazy, or am I just that cynical? What are your thoughts on this?
A Lilo and Stitch live action. It seems kind of crazy to me, just because it's a totally different animation style than Disney usually has. And it was kind of like that off-brand movie to me too. Like, I really enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, the characters and the looks are so, like, only the, like, human adults look normal. Everyone else looks crazy. Even Lilo, like, how old is she? Is she 2? No, she's not. But she's the size of Stitch. Like, what? Like, it just, I don't know. I would probably go see it, but is it on the top of the list of things that I want to see live action of? No, just because I like live action to be predominantly live and not predominantly CGI. So having characters that are humanoids or human is probably like the best way to go with that. And none of those aliens, I don't think, could be real, like real people. Like they're huge, or they're like crazy skinny and small. You know, like it just would be very odd. And I don't think that it would be on the top of my list to see. Like, I would definitely want to have more of the actual, like, princess or, you know, movies that have strong human tones, like, first. But I wouldn't bash it. Like, if they want to do a Lilo and Stitch live action, cool. I just don't necessarily, I think I've said this before, I'm not, like, super into, like, watching children on screen. Like, it's not where I would be targeted. I'm like, oh, yay, a bunch of kids. Like everyone's like, oh, we love the Goonies. And, like, I do like Stranger Things, but Stranger Things has so much, like, adult stuff going on. So for me to watch kids just interact on screen the whole time would be very, I just probably wouldn't like it very much. So it would probably be very strongly geared to, like, PG. And so, you know, just not usually the movies I'm going to go see.
Yeah, fair enough. So, honestly, guys, like we said, it's kind of a mixed deal here. You heard it from us here. We'll have to wait and see. I mean, some of the movies that they would be coming out with will probably be good. Other ones were just kind of like, I mean, like, you know, live action Lilo and Stitch, I think would be pretty good. They're doing that live action Dumbo, I think, next year, which honestly, I don't see any harm in it, because the fact is that, you know, do people really think, you know, Dumbo when they talk about Disney? It's probably like on the lower of the spectrum, and I think Lilo and Stitch is just a bit higher up, because a lot of people probably still enjoy a lot of the classics, but, you know, we'll have to wait and see where these go, so we'll definitely keep you guys informed on that. So with that being said, I think we'll wrap up this edition of The Game Changer. Thank you for joining us here, and thank you again, VicTori Belle, for taking time out of your schedule, especially with you having your birthday yesterday. I know that you definitely mentioned that you were definitely exhausted, especially after this event, so I'm looking forward to talking more about it later on this week, because we'll talk a little bit about, you know, conventions. Are they too pricey? Are they just about right? Are they okay? What's going on with conventions? So, guys, tune in to this week for another convention deal. And with that being said, you can follow us on Facebook on our Facebook fan page. Be sure to follow VicTori Belle on our Facebook fan page to check out all the amazing photos that she had. She was cosplaying as Wonder Woman this weekend, which honestly, hard for me to not like that cosplay, because it's absolutely amazing. Very well done. In fact, I will definitely have a top 5 cosplays of VicTori Belle that you can definitely check out, because they are definitely underappreciated and oh gosh, what did we call it? What was it? Underappreciated, oh god, I can't remember what it was. We did a series about this.
Underrated?
Underrated, underappreciated. That's right.
I don't know. That's fun. Thank you.
So, with that being said, do you have anything crazy coming up with this weekend, with this year? Obviously, we're closing in on 2018, moving on to 2019. But anything crazy going on within the next month or so?
I do have stuff going on, but I really can't talk about some of these things because you just can't release stuff until they're out in the public when you like working in this industry sometimes. But I do D&D on Wednesday nights. So Wednesday night I will be, doing my Acroma character for Dungeons and Dragons, Extreme Drowist. That's a bi-weekly show, and it's so fun. I love playing D&D. I didn't realize I was going to love it as much as I do, but I love my team and my group, and we just go out, and my character is just awful. So if you want to see me doing bad things, my character is the worst, but so fun. So you guys can check out Extreme Drowist every other Wednesday. It's going to be on this Wednesday night, and you can follow the page. We're on Spotify and iTunes as well, so it's fun.
Sweet. All right, guys, you definitely know how to find us also here for the podcast on Spreaker.com as well as on YouTube. I do believe that we're also still working on getting on Spotify and iHeartRadio. But yeah, I'll keep everybody in the loop about that. So thank you very much for joining us here, and we will talk to you guys in the next episode. That'll be later this week, so bye-bye.